What is going on with Oracle? About a week ago, the database and data infrastructure company Oracle laid off 30,000 people via email. And on top of that, tensions began to rise over revelations of thousands of petitions for H-1B visas to allow foreign workers to do work domestically for the company. And as if it couldn't get any worse, a lot of people, this is like the last straw for them, was the unveiling this earlier this week of some new personnel added to the executive C-suite team at Oracle. My name is Julian Scott. This is Supply Demand, where typically we are layering in supply chain and industry knowledge to demystify some of the ambiguity with different aspects of finance and culture. This is the backroom series, though. In the back room, we can have some of the conversations we wouldn't necessarily have on the sales floor. And so the topics will be a bit more varied, and you'll get my authentic thoughts and commentary and insights on certain situations. So let's get into this one by starting with how some have been reacting to the layoff situation. People who were actually directly impacted by those Oracle emails.
Come with me to get laid off from my job. Like many others, I too was impacted during the great Oracle purge of 2026. Yikes, as I have mouths to feed like this big back. Could I be sad about this? Absolutely, but my anxieties towards the future, I feel all this internalized discomfort actually fueled and motivated me as I got through 200 job applications in 2 days. But also a reminder that it's okay to take it easy, follow along in my journey of unemployment.
She seemed to be taking that really well, actually. And something here that I think is really important for people is, as a layoff isn't fun, right? She made it seem like this was vacation. She might have been one of the ones working from home the whole time, but I like that she was getting to it immediately. The first thing she mentioned, getting out of bed, feeding her cat, all that stuff. She did 200 applications. 200 applications. She had a spreadsheet popping, and this is what you got to do. I know a lot of people are reacting to job loss in different ways, and it's a tough time. Absolutely. It's a moment where you get to sit and reflect, but it's also a moment for you to get back out there into the market, see what's going on, challenge your skills in a different way. Right now, a lot of people are dealing with the layoff situation, and it's not a good time. It's not necessarily easy, especially with the skill set that companies are looking for being a bit different from the skill set that used to garner a lot of attention previously. If you were a data engineer or a computer science person, you might have been at the top of the list, versus today that may be shifting to some unexpected places like communications or different pieces of that same industry like data science. Obviously, if you have talent in machine learning, AI, robotics, you're going to get different looks as well. So I like that, she's not stopping to just sulk with her cat and actually get back out there into the business space. Let's go to the next one.
So I got laid off this week via an email. Let's talk about it. My name is Kendall Levin. I'm 27 and I live in Austin, Texas. And for the last couple of years, I was making $250,000 a year at the largest software company in the world as a software sales manager. On Tuesday at 6 a.m., me, alongside 29,999 other people, got an email from an anonymous alias within the company stating that due to a restructure, our positions were no longer needed and that our employment was terminated immediately. Opened up my computer and sure enough, I was locked out. So it's been a lot to process, but I'm kind of excited. I'm not bitter. I completely understand it from a business standpoint. It sucks, obviously, for me personally, but at the same time, it makes sense. And I support where the company's going. And so with that, sometimes sacrifices are needed. And unfortunately, this time I was that sacrifice. So trying to figure out life. I haven't focused on living in the last, 7 years. So my entire 20s, for the most part, have been consumed with work. Not to be dramatic, but my life literally revolved around this job. To the point where I'd wake up in the morning, I was so excited to go in and see my team and see my friends because all of my friends are at work because I don't have time to do anything else after work. So literally all of my social interaction happened in this building.
Two things on this one. that awkward. I don't know what that joy was. That's a coping mechanism right there, and it's natural. I think this person, to me, seems a little overly optimistic. Both people actually were pretty good, seemed pretty good disposition, but I mean, geez, it's like she got dolled up, makeup up. Like, I don't know. That to me is coping. This is where it is hitting you. It's like something life changing is happening. I'm not sure how to react, and so this is kind of what comes out of it. But one of the other things she mentioned was being able to just open her computer and like couldn't get access. This is one of my biggest fears. Is like if you missed the communication and you either open your laptop or drive all the way down to your job or something like that, and like your badge ain't working or something. It's like, yo, that's embarrassing. And that's one of the things I hope I never had to experience. Like if my badge ain't working, let it just be because I forgot to pick up a new one or something like that. But as you can see from those who have been impacted, not necessarily a fun situation, right? To just wake up and all of a sudden I don't have a job anymore. And this person talked about her relationships being tethered and attached to that place of employment and what's going on with that. A lot of different reasons for why people are saying these layoffs, happen the way that they happen. And as mentioned at the top of this, right, there was the announcement earlier this week, actually Monday, April 6th, that Oracle added Hillary Maxon. I want to make sure I get that name right. Hillary Maxon as the new chief financial officer with a base pay at $950,000. So I can imagine being absolutely pissed that I just lost my job and you saying, we have to cut back. There's more CapEx spend. There's investments being made. We got to cut back. And then you hire this person for $950,000. Wow. I would be upset. I think a lot of people's first natural instinct is that corporate greed, right? Obviously, this is big tech doing what big tech does and hurting the little guy. I actually see this a little bit different, right? They're saying that the total comp for this person is high, but it seems pretty, on par, I think, for C-suite individuals. $1.5 to $3.5 million, I believe, is what's projected to be out there. That's including her base. Of course, we've said the $950,000. Bonuses, stock options, probably insurances and other things, special perks that she's getting for being a C-suite employee. But the position, I think, is important. Right? They didn't go and hire some new AI individual or throw up a big bag at someone to do something in that space or, to oversee infrastructure and things like that. They hired a CFO. I think this is where you got to pay attention. I think some of what the narrative is around Oracle has been true, right? There's a lot of money that's flowing into what people are calling an AI bubble. A lot of different decisions being made on the acquisition side outside of just the core operational functions of Oracle. And when you're doing all of that, right, you have to manage things a little differently. Deep diving into the Oracle situation. I'm a fundamentals guy when it comes to looking at companies. I look at technicals too, but I'm a fundamentals guy. One thing that I think is really important to look at is both the long-term and short-term financial position of a company for how are we handling and being able to service our liabilities. When you look at the Oracle situation, if you look at their last quarterly reports that they put out, two numbers I want people to look at and pay attention to. First one, total debt to equity. All right, it sits at about 415%, right? So that is measuring their total debt, right? So long and short-term responsibilities and obligations mixed against their total equity for the company. 415% is a bit of a red flag. Like that's high for a lot of people. Another piece to look at though is the current ratio. Okay. The current ratio looks at company's ability to service its short-term liability. Did I just whistle? That's crazy. That was crazy. But the current ratio allows a company to see, how stable are you from a liquidity standpoint in the short term? And Oracle's current ratio is actually pretty good. It's 1.35, I believe 1.35. I'm looking over here, yeah. And so they have oxygen to breathe. And so to me, what I'm seeing here isn't big tech, isn't another corporate greed story. This is actually a company that's fighting. This is survival right now for Oracle. The company has solid revenue and have always. They're a staple. Your company probably uses Oracle-based solutions, whether you know it or not. And, the march into AI does mean they need to take certain strategic steps to make sure they are not over levered as they wait for the return on investment to surface. And so you want to bring in someone at the helm here and add a player to the C-suite that can help navigate and control some of these expenditures, right? And some of these long-term liabilities, some of these deals that I'm making, and make sure the strategy of how we are expending capital is aligned with the long-term survival strategy of the company while they kind of make it through and wait to see the return on some of these investments. So the move to me makes a lot of sense. You want to bring in a CFO at this point versus someone else, in execution or looking in on the innovation side. You want to make sure that we're not just at this point trying to manage product, where we're managing the balance sheet. We need to make sure that we keep that short-term stable picture from a liquidity standpoint while managing all of what we have from a long-term perspective in terms of our liabilities. And employee pay is in the mix of that, right? And so the story of we're getting rid of our domestic employees to hire H-1B doesn't quite line up. They let go of 30,000 people. I think it turns out the H-1B visas is only about 2,000 to 3,000. Of course, there's probably going to be more, but it makes sense. It does make sense. You would want to lower the cost of some of your labor to keep that picture, that current ratio, that short-term liquidity picture looking good while you balance and try to lower down some of that total debt to equity and what that picture looks like in long-term liabilities as the company continues to invest in its future. What does that mean for you and the other people working maybe at other tech companies or other companies in general who may be facing risks like this? Is to be expendable. You want to make sure that your skills and your skill set and the value that you're adding to the company far outweighs your costs, the costs associated with your seat of being there. It does suck to wake up and all of a sudden your computer won't give you access or your badge won't badge you in. Less likely for that to happen to you or for that impact to be as heavy. Like the first young lady was like, look, I'm putting in 200 applications. I know where I stand. She seemed pretty optimistic about getting a new role. It's most likely because she probably has a certain level of skill set or specialized knowledge that she knows is going to make her competitive in the marketplace. And so these are the type of things that we look at when we talk about the skeleton crew. Supply demands private membership, link down in the description. How to make sure we have our career champion as well as other things, our AI tools and AI database to help you out for other stuff. How can I make sure that I'm expendable? I am not expendable in the marketplace within my job, that I do have specialized skill sets, and how to properly navigate the corporate environment in the midst of all this uncertainty. So I think definitely a deeper situation than a lot of people think in terms of just, hey, this is Oracle just doing more to get money for themselves and make the rich richer, et cetera, et cetera. I think this is a strategic move that, this is a sign of good management here. Sucks to hear. Not the way we want to see it happen, but it is a sign that the company is fighting and they're trying to hold on until the investments in the AI space start to materialize. So that's my take on the Oracle situation. T's and P's, thoughts and prayers to those impacted by the layoffs. And again, if you want to make sure that you are not as impacted by those layoffs, check out the Skeleton Crew, our private membership down in the link in the description. Get all the things that you need from our career champion supply drops. Also check out if you haven't working on, hey, I got a little bit of debt I'm trying to work on that personal budget. We got some great AI backed tools to help you out with those things as well. Link in the description. This has been The Back Room with me, Julian Scott. Catch you on the next one.